Hello and welcome again to Spa. So the video yesterday was a rev racing lobby on Spa. I had a good time in it, even though it wasn't my greatest drive, so I just stuck around for the next one. And this video is basically part 2. So same lobby, a lot of the same people in it. I set out to do my qualifying. I did an outlap and then I set out for my first timed lap. So still about 10 minutes on the clock. But coming out of Le Fagnes, I biff it up. It's so classic for me to get that result there. Just yeah, a bit too eager on the throttle. Have oversteer, overcorrect, and end up in the wall on the right. Happens way too much. In the end, the qualifying ends up going pretty badly generally, so I end up doing a 2 minute 23.0 for my first attempt. And I improve it to another 2:23.0, but maybe 0.03 of a second faster, so pretty crappy all in all. I end up starting P15. I'm directly behind Romagné. There was a P14, I guess, Sando. Ref would have been, oh no, yeah, would have been that. But importantly, Romagné hangs back quite far in their starting box. So he's the man inside of me basically, and they end up backing out because when you start entangled like that, there's no collision until you become unentangled. But anyway. They back out, we head through Eau Rouge Radion. Coming out of it, we're 3 white and stuff ends up happening. So let's get a better view. Romagné and I are together there, they back out of it, I get the position from them basically. Not too much drama in Eau Rouge Radion, but then coming out here, Sando makes it a 3 white by coming between me and T-Rod. T-Rod ends up turning for the little kink in the road, but they have a lot of room on the outside, and Sando doesn't turn quite as fast and ends up them just bumping into each other, and T-Rod gets pit maneuvered, and I end up coming relatively coming away relatively unscathed. Now coming out of Le Combe and in Malmedy, there's some more drama. There's 3 cars spinning out, so I'm already up to P6 at this point. A spot I definitely don't belong in, given my pacing qualifying, and generally on Spa I'm sure a lot of people are faster than me. And then I guess that was McRae who ends up parking it on the exit of Jackie X, so another spot gained. Now Sols here tries to make a move into Bourbon, very ambitious. It's a super fast and sweeping corner. It doesn't quite work out for either them or me. So if we run it back coming out of Jackie X, they are already very close behind. Not quite coming alongside, but then they brake just a tad bit later to bring their front wheel level with my back wheel. They have room on the inside, I have room on the outside. I guess I'd call it a racing incident, but I don't think it's a smart move by them. But yeah, anyway, I drop some places. I end up behind Romagné, the man inside of me at the start, and they surprised me by braking a bit early into Le Fagnes, and I end up bumping them. Felt bad about that one. Ends up much worse for me than for them though. So a ton of people overtake me, notably Misetovic here, the blue Ferrari on my left, you might remember from the previous video. But yeah, a bunch of other people also. There's H Racing, G Otto, more. So here we run it back once more. Romagné brakes quite early there. I bump them. They can go way off track, but keep a lot of speed. But I'm sliding a lot, and then I kind of have to rejoin the track. So I try to do it safely, but it becomes difficult because I'm being sandwiched by 2 overtakers, Misetovic and forget who the other one is. But I guess we won't be seeing them for a while. So. I think it was maybe Rev Racing. Well, it doesn't matter so much. Anyway, ends up I'm in front of Misetovic, and we're heading towards Blanchimont in a very close order. When we get to Blanchimont, they are coming alongside. I do a pretty big lift and I leave just about enough room on the inside because they weren't much alongside, but they end up bumping me and yeah. It was a pretty difficult hold, but I just about manage it. But again, I lose places. Now, basically, it allows T-Rod to come back. So here, they're about a bit over halfway alongside. They bump me. I hit the wall. There's two more people that had a bigger contact, I guess. So I do overtake them, and net, I guess I gained one place. But yeah, in the moment it didn't feel so great, and I wasn't very impressed by the move by Misetovic. In general, I kind of hate when overtakes happen in Blanchiment because it's never clean, and I always approach it wanting it to keep it clean. So you have to lift if you go side by side, but then very often the other person doesn't, and then I start to feel pressure like maybe I shouldn't lift either, and fuck it, if they don't, I don't. But then I don't know beforehand whether they will. Anyway, quite a tangent. I'm behind T-Rod, so now I have Damm behind, whom you might remember from the previous video. In Rouge Radion, I think I may have a very slight track limit cut, but they have a massive track limit cut, so that brings them super close behind, coming onto the Camel Straight and just about on the verge of coming alongside. They don't quite manage it by the braking phase, so I end up going back to the racing line and manage to keep it in front. But then there's a bunch of carnage in front again, while I was actually looking more behind me. So I was surprised to find that I overtook a bunch of cars just by them spinning out. So here we see that happening. I think that was Rev Racing that was sliding and then got hit by... I think that was H Racing in the Porsche. Yeah, judging by the timing sheet, that's correct at least. So H Racing is now behind Damm, and I think Rev Racing dropped back quite a bit further still, because they ended up sideways. And probably had to be very patient to get a safe rejoin. Yeah, if we look at the track map also, it's clear that similar to the same race, the previous race, the pack is actually pretty tightly spread for public lobby, with just 2 cars in the pit, I believe, maybe 3. Anyway, I'm trailing T-Rod again. I have Damm behind, the latter especially recognizable feeling with the last video in mind. It does look like, well, the timing gap is completely wrong here. There's no way they're 6-7 seconds ahead, but yeah, it does seem like Damm will be closer and will rather make a move than I will be making a move on T-Rod. So in Blanchiment, I feel the pressure. I try to minimize my lift. I think I get track limits, but no warning. I was very close. Damm ends up bumping me in the bus stop chicane though. I think I was okay on the brakes and I think they were too late. But it ends up costing me 2 places because both Damm and H Racing make their way through. So if you take it from the back of their car, the perspective, I think I brake okay. They're maybe slightly late or just not applying the brakes as much. They just hardly make the apex of the first corner now, and that's after they dumped a lot of their speed into me. So I do think they would have gone too deep. And this incident is on, well, they ran me from behind. Hard to expect anything else than it being on them. Though then we head to La Suisse, and there Damm brakes too early, contrary to the previous chicane, and H Racing is kind of stuck behind them. They were following them through on the same line, so it ends up that they are hampered, and I get the overtake by diving to the inside. It's still a bit close on the exit because my dive put me on a pretty tight line, but we'll see it again here. So Damm brakes early, H Racing has to follow suit as they are following the same line. I dive, Damm cuts across me, which fair enough, no problem with that. But H Racing and I behind end up pretty close together, though through Rouge Radion they back off a little bit, which is probably the safe play. Then by the end of the camel straight, I feel they're gonna try and move there. They do move to the inside a bit, but I'm just try to be very brave on the brakes, and I managed to stick with the position. So to Bruxelles we go. I have Damm in front now, who is right behind a new competitor. From my perspective, a guy called 911, who confusingly is not in a Porsche, let alone a Porsche 991. I think they are driving a Lamborghini, but to be honest, I'm super bad at recognizing the cars for the most part, especially the ones that you don't see as often in my lobbies, such as the McLaren and the Lamborghinis. So Damm has a bit of a moment in Pouhon. I get a pretty easy pass, I just drive past him. Not that much to it, no need for a replay. And they do stick very close behind, and I also am within about half a second to a second behind 991 now myself. Also, based on the previous race, I thought I was maybe slightly faster or at least more consistent than Damm, so I figured my battle would be more in front. And turns out, coming out of Stavelot, I was catching up very quick with 991. Didn't fancy a move in Blanchimont myself, so I tried to see what happens in a bus stop chicane. Have to brake very heavily. Well, you always have to, but especially to avoid contact and hitting them from behind. But ends up working quite well. And then in La Source, I think they broke quite early. It took me a bit by surprise, but I moved to the inside and I end up overshooting a bit because that extra maneuver makes me brake a little later. But it's all in all still a pretty good corner for me, though 991 gets the better exit or the better second phase, and then they whack me on the exit, bump me off track. I think that wasn't super fair, but it's no big deal. Going through Rouge Radion, they're swinging every which way. I'm kind of stuck behind them and having to lift super heavily, as you could still see on the graph. And it brings Ref Racing super close behind. We take it from their bumper cam. They come up about I think within a meter or 2 meters. They are also hampered in turn by me, which then lets Sando overtake Ref Racing, and Ref Racing still gets the pass on 991. So the order was shook up a lot. And finally Damm comes back into play as well, so into Lecombe. He makes an attempt here, have to leave them room on the outside. I'm pretty brave on the brakes and I have a tight line on the inside. And then after I see them appear in my rear view mirror, I can run it to the apex of Lecombe 2. So I maintain at least that position, and I'm still looking at the back of 991 and hoping to put a move there, while also maintaining the defense for Damm. So yeah, Jackie X 911 runs a little wide, gets them a bit of a gap also, since I was making sure I kept it within the track limits. I always forget to pay attention to the race engineer giving me the track limits update, where I gain time and then get a warning. But I know in general in this race I ran it close. I think I end up with 3 warnings, or at least I think I have 2 warnings by now maybe. So that's why I believe I'm already being a bit extra careful not to get more track limits. So here in Stavelot, for example, I'm also lifting. Though I still run pretty deep on the exit, but keep it neatly on the track, so all good. Does mean that I'm not getting much closer to 911 at this point. But then to Blanchimont, yeah. They don't use all the space on the entry. I do, but I turn in a bit too early, so I hit the apex too hard, which then makes me run wide in turn, and I do a bit of a lift there to make sure I don't get another track limits. But then to the bus stop chicane we get more action. I dive them to the inside. I brake just a little too late. Felt bad about it. I give them a push, so I make sure to give them a wide berth in the turn 2 of bus stop chicane so that they can regain the position immediately. But it's basically too late for both of us already, as Damm has made their move and is now ahead of the both of us. Felt a bit bad. Coming to Las Vegas, I think there was an opportunity to try and dive to the inside again, but I decided against it. I guess with the chicane incident in mind. So I do have a better exit out of La Source, and they pinch me quite hard towards the pit wall, but not quite entirely. So when I get alongside, I make sure to just move a little more left to try and get me some room while we head to Rouge Radion. So here we see it again. I have a better exit, start to come alongside, and they make it very tight there. Feels pretty tricky in the car, but they keep it fair, so fair game to them. In Rouge Radion, I suppose they don't fancy the going side by side, so they back out of it, and I'm happy to at that point take the position. So down the Camel Straight we go with the order again shuffled. I'm now behind Damm, and 991 is behind me. In Le Combon, Damm in front doesn't get a very good apex in neither turn 1 nor turn 2, but I don't end up closing it too much because out of turn 2 they have a better acceleration. It's just a bit of ebb and flow basically in the gaps at this point. Trying to get a feel for where am I better, where are they better, and then think about where can I make a move possibly. But keep looking in the mirrors too, because 991 is so close behind. In Pouhon, Damm runs a little wide, allows me to come back, because then the second part of Pouhon is slower, because you really want to move from the inside to the outside, but if you already start a bit wide in the middle of Pouhon, then yeah, you can't go on the throttle as early, so I'm right behind. Considering a move into Campus, but it's not my strongest corner, side against it, back out, and I lose a bit of time because of it. But then in Stavolo, my lift is pretty minimal, so at least I don't lose more time, though it seems like they did a similar lift and the gap is about maintained, at least in front. Behind I did pull more of a gap. Then Blanchimont, Damm runs it a little wide. I keep it pretty tight with a minimal lift, keep it on track, so all good. And then in the bus stop chicane I close up heavily, so that was nice for me. At La Source, well, there's always the consideration of going for a move, but their braking point was pretty solid and I didn't feel like I could outbrake them, and I didn't go for it. Maybe I should have thrown a dummy there just to add some pressure. I think that would have been a good idea in hindsight, but yeah, didn't end up doing it in the race. Through Rouge Radion, somewhat, or I'd say medium lift for me. I guess they lifted more and still ran wide, so that lets me close in very fast, and we head to Le Combe and basically have the move almost done into the braking zone. I still have to do a bit of the work on under braking, but I get there with relative ease, so all good on that front. We run it back, so yeah, closing in, fully alongside, slightly further ahead. They brake maybe slightly early even, and I can keep it very neat and tight, even on the inside line. So position 1, happy with the move. Through the next couple of corners, it seems they might have a bit more speed than me, but it's not really a passing zone, so they're just kind of stuck behind and can't do much with their perhaps slightly mid-corner speed. We have become a bit detached from the pack in front, so the car in front of me is Sando of Rev Racing, but they're already heading through Campus now and towards Tavolo. Well, for me, I just now hit Campus, so yeah, a pretty big gap, and looks like I won't be doing much in front for the rest of the race, at least, unless there's a big incident there. No matter though, Damm is still at about 1 second behind, so plenty of room for action on that front. And then, if we look behind Damm, there's this car, Lupo Grigio. Hope I'm not butchering that one. But they're a backmarker. They joined the race late, but they do seem to have quite a bit of speed, so they're closing in very fast on Damm. Well, since I'm not driving away from Damm exactly, or not by a big margin, they're also gaining time on me. So here we see that they did a 2:18.9, which is really really quite solid, much better than anything I've accomplished on Spa ever. And I think that was with an overtake on Van Schie. So yeah, looks like we might get a visit from a backmarker very soon. I don't think I was fully or aware of this at this point in the race, though. I was just doing my own thing, trying to drive neat lines. My personal best in the race was a 2:21.9, so at least a second away from my actual personal best on the track in general. So I was hoping to improve, but then on this lap I'm already half a second down on my delta, so it doesn't look like it will be happening. Although maybe if my personal best is a second faster, I guess I could still find that time at least, what I'm down on the delta in the rest of the lap. But yeah. The reason I'm revisiting Spa now a bit, well, first I was forced into it. I didn't find really a better lobby, but then as I was driving it, I noticed that I've been driving it very irregularly. And what happens sometimes is that I'll find an improvement in a corner, but then especially on a long track like Spa, I end up finding also that suddenly it feels like I forgot how I used to approach a corner exactly, and I'm now losing much more time through them. Example here, Campus is a good example that I've noticed during these races, and similarly with No Name or Jackie X Corner. So it's good for me to maybe do a bit of a proper revisit, but then also I have driven the track a lot, so it is more exciting to try the newer ones for me. But yeah. If we focus back on what's happening in the actual race, we see that Lupo Gingio put a overtake on Damm, and they do one on me as well in the bus stop chicane. They end up going a bit deep, so I go for the switchback, and they leave enough space on the exit that I can pull back alongside on the mini straight towards La Source. And in La Source, I break them a bit, but then they go for the switchback. And so now we're heading to Eau Rouge Radion. But on exit I had a bit more room since I then got the outside because of their switchback, and I managed to stay ahead just about. So here in Blanchimont I needed to do some lifting to not hit track limits. They didn't, so they just bring it alongside. And then there's a switchback from me. And here on exit, I think they could have shut the door on me, or I know they could have, but they didn't. They didn't use all the space on exit, so it makes that I can accelerate out of the corner faster, and I can come alongside into La Suisse. I'm a little later on the brakes. I still hit the apex pretty well though. Quite tight line, though not 100%. May have been a little bit of door banging, but nothing bad. But then in Eau Rouge Radion, I have to do a pretty big lift, and given that they managed the 2:18.9 while overtaking someone, I'm sure that they don't need to lift there if there's nothing else happening around them. But then on the Camel Straight, during the race I felt like they just pitted themselves. Then looking at the replays, I was a bit unsure until I slowed it down heavily, so let's do it again. So here they close in through Radion. They come alongside onto the straight part of the Camel Straight. They're now even pulled ahead, and then if we slow it down, they are perfectly parallel to the outside white line. I'm moving ever so slightly more to the left because I don't want to be pinched tight on the inside line heading to Lecombe, and then they start veering right ever so slightly as well. Right before we touch, you can see that a gap has formed with the white line on the left, and yeah, I don't know why it was just very small margins. I definitely didn't intend to pit maneuver them. Looking at the very slow-mo, I think it is more on them, and I think it's a bit dumb because they would have easily cleared me by the time we got to the braking zone. So yeah, not my intention. I felt a bit bad for them, but not because of my own actions, especially after seeing the slow-mo. But that will be the race pretty much. I still have Damm behind, but they're now about 2 seconds the gap, so not too worried about that anymore. I figure if I just take it slightly easy, I will definitely finish ahead of them, while not taking too much risk at spinning out or so. For example, in here, I make sure not to get on the throttle too fast, and I don't use all the space on exit. It might cost me a tenth or two, but it's really no big deal. It's nowhere near enough for them to mount a comeback anymore. And yeah, the race is finished for the top 5 already. Some people dropping out. I'm not sure what exactly my finishing position was, but again, I had a great time in this Rev Racing lobby. So in between this race and the one I posted yesterday, I had already joined their Discord and was checking them out more. And so they have a spa event on Saturday evening that I will be joining, or if I get the chance, but I should. So yeah, I'm looking to practice a bit more before then, although I am open to other lobbies as well. But for this evening and this video, that'll be it. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.